Hello, guys, and God bless. Hope you all are doing well. I know this is going to be a long video. It's funny you don't even record it yet, and yet you know it's going to be a long video. It's going to be a long video. Immediately after the last video I did, I was about ready to sit down and take a break, and I heard go read Revelation 9:11, 9:1 through 11, and so I did, and I started getting bits and pieces as I was reading it, and on my Facebook page, someone had posted this meme here, and it says, "And their faces were as the faces of men, and their hair was as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions." I thought, well, that's kind of fits, but what about the rest of it, kind of thing. And again, as you know in my previous videos, I learn as I go. I kind of sit down, I get quiet with the Lord, I open up a document, and I pull out the Bible on my other screen, and you know, and that's how we go, kind of thing. Anyway, she's an openly transgender. This Miss Levine, Mr. Levine, from Pennsylvania. Okay, that's key. It's actually the Keystone State, so that's going to be key in our study. Just want you to think about that. Obviously, she made headlines because she's now the Secretary of Health, and being transgender, openly transgender at that, made pretty good news, pretty big news. So I thought that was my yes, go down this path type of moment is what I had. So as I began to look into this, start right off with verse 1, and I was like, okay, Lord, first off, let me say this, and I think some of you already know this. If you're new to the channel and this is the first video you're watching, probably shouldn't be the first video you watch, but that's neither here nor there. However, I believe there's two fulfillments here. Several reasons for that. I've stated them before in other videos. I believe there's a spiritual fulfillment of Revelation, and I believe that there is a physical fulfillment of Revelation. There's two churches. It appears to me I had a vision at one point of a baton handoff, a runner's baton handoff of one church handing off the baton to another. There's two churches that find favor with the Lord, and we can go on and on. The two sets of 7 cows, one of famine, one of plenty, and so I believe, and that's just a skimming of why I believe that. That there's a spiritual fulfillment and a physical fulfillment. The spiritual fulfillment seems to be for those with the eyes and the ears to see. The physical fulfillment seems like it's going to be almost like an in-your-face type of fulfillment. Like, this is happening. You could almost read the Bible and as a script of what's going to be occurring with the physical eyes to see it. So anyway, that's just how I stand with how Revelation is fulfilled. If you don't, that's fine. That's great. I'm just going to show you what the Lord led me to, and I'm going to let you decide how you take it. So that's totally up to you. So the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and unto him was given the key to the bottomless pit. First off, what's the bottomless pit, and what's the key, and what's the star? The bottomless pit, as I've conducted studies over the years, is, to me, it's a revolving door of the dead, as it seems. It's almost as if Satan uses the flesh of deceased or cattle mutilations. I mean, everything you can think of, to make a revolving door of beings or Nephilim or spirit-enhanced demons. And we'll get into that here in just a minute, a little bit more, to prove that case a little bit. And that's the key. He has that key to open that pit. And that's why it's a bottomless pit, because you always have dead, and they're always coming back forth. Okay? Again, we're going to get into this a little bit more with the star falling from heaven. So that's the preface of what I think of this verse. Okay, the bottomless pit. You also have middle of the earth, the grave, the underworld, the abyss, all those things that go along with this. So in December 1965, there was an incident that occurred that gained national attention. And I've known about this for a long time, and I was like, okay, kind of weird, kind of different. But in Kecksburg, all right, Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, all right, had this UFO fall on December 9th. It looked like a fireball. It was reported by citizens. 6 states, Canada, all saw it. It fell and was called the Pennsylvania Roswell. It was just kind of a weird phenomena of this falling star. Okay, that's what you know right there. The what happens? Okay, how do I put this? So later on, from that falling star, all the way up until 1973, when abortion became legal, there was a rash of UFO sightings in Pennsylvania and like Sasquatch and very weird phenomena that occurred, in so much that it's books written about it. In fact, let me see if there's even a wiki document about it. Hold on. Okay, a guy by the name of Stan Gordon wrote a book on it called Silent Invasion. But here you can get kind of a little bit of a flavor of it. There's a back in the 1970s, there was this whole rash of Pennsylvania sightings. Okay, in the Keystone State, and his book you can buy it online. It's real cheap. It's a good book. It's by Stan Gordon, Silent Invasion. Anyway, so this occurred and it kicked off a bunch of stuff. Now, Keck in Kecksburg means to vomit. Okay, so that brings back that regurgitation of the dead or that bottomless pit. That's a revolving door, essentially. The UFO that crashed or fell in Kecksburg is very unique shape. It was the shape of an acorn, which acorn means fruit of an enclosed land. The biological makeup of an acorn looks similar to other studies I've done. I'll show you some pictures here in just a second. It also looks like the eye of Stonehenge or the apple. I believe these similarities stem from Satan copying Father once again. In short, the bottomless pit is a revolving door of the dead, the pit being the grave or the underworld, the bottomless being that there is no end. The enemy uses this revolving door of the dead for his wicked purposes. After the Kecksburg incident, a string of strange occurrences, like I just said, occurred in Pennsylvania, and of course Stan Gordon's book. So here we have this vomit. This is supposedly a picture of the acorn. Now, I did a study on the window that Rahab uses to signal the spies, and it really took me on a huge journey. But what I discovered in this journey was, you know, the Apple emblem has this bite taken out of it here. The computer program or the computer, the Lord told me that's the 1/3 that He has consumed, the fruit of the land essentially. And what you do is you have the eye kind of paints the picture of the galaxy. So yeah, it's crazy, right? So this is the virtuous humor, which means glass. This is the sea of glass. Well, what was around the throne of the sea of glass? It was lightning. These are the lightnings coming from the throne. And this is the waters that are divided from the waters above to the waters below. And the hyaloid canal here is where we come. This is the narrow gate, the narrow passage. It's all here. Satan's doing the same thing from the bottom to the top, all the way from the abyss or the pit, right, of the fruit, all the way back up to this earth, all right, and putting the dead back there. So that's what this acorn represents, I believe. Had Egyptian markings on it, had all kinds of weird stuff. I didn't really get into that, but that's what was written on it. You can check that out. Could these be instructions for DNAs, manipulation, keys to assisting raising the dead? It's also it was acorn that helped Obama rise to power to obtain the presidency. So I think this is symbolic of a seed being planted, Satan's type seed, and these key instructions of growing an army. So this happened in 1965. Remember the year. I don't want to scroll all the way back up here. So if you got a pen or paper or something, you want to write that down, that's fine, or whatever. But 1965 is when this occurred, and you're going to see where this goes. It blew my mind. So Hope we're good with that. Okay. So this was another verse that he led me to. He opened up the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. If you go back into Genesis, you read something very similar. And Abraham got up in the morning in the place where he stood before the Lord, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, which was what? For sodomites, the sexual sins, and toward the land of the plain, and beheld the smoke of the country went up. It was like the smoke of the furnace. So we have these two things coming out. We have this, are these sodomites coming out of the pit? This is something you need to, the spirits or whatever you're thinking, synonymous with these being destroyed. So out of the ashes comes the army, out of the phoenixes, right? So you have the phoenixes coming out, and you have the phoenixes being destroyed. So could this be a resurrection of this wicked army? There was a verse that Jesus said something about the spirits of Sodom. I'll have to look that up. If someone knows it, please post it in the comments. I can't remember what it said, but there was something there. So obviously Sodom and Gomorrah have been used historically as metaphors for homosexuality, sodomites, homosexuals, sodomy, etc., bestiality, crimes against nature. So what we're looking at in the natural, I think most people would say, is a volcano. The word volcano comes from the god of fire called Vulcan. Vulcan, god of fire, he's usually depicted with a blacksmith hammer. This is indicative of an iron worker. So iron worker, you need to put in the back of your mind. So 1965, iron worker, Vulcan. Okay. So the volcano festival, blah, blah, blah. That's not important. But this is, so what does Vulcan mean? Vulcan means lustre. So that goes back to the word of lust. All right. The fires of lust, the fires of love, all that sexual sin. Okay. Okay, so all the defilements of the life come from a deceived heart. Lust is a fire in the soul. All right. Those that indulge it are said to burn. Right. It consumes all that is good there, lays the conscience waste. It kindles the fire of God's wrath, which, if not quenched by the blood of Christ, it will be consumed to eternal destruction. Instead of being consumed like Sodom and Gomorrah, this lustful army is coming out. And I believe the smoke could be a way to obscure this army. Smoke in the army is always used to obscure soldiers during maneuvering on a battlefield. Smoke is a spiritual darkness. The sun here, or the light, is being darkened by reason of the smoke. So now we have a spiritual state of darkness and blindness. Most did not see the army rise and get into position. Correct? We never saw these. We never knew we had so many transgenders in positions of influence and power until recently. So Satan has articulately placed them into position. Next to Satan, time is another bad enemy of ours. We lack patience. Okay, myself included. We lack patience, and the darkness creeps in, very slow, very hypnotic, and puts you to sleep. It's picked up the pace. However, many were caught off guard, and now the quickness isn't catching up to them. And it blocks the spiritually blind from seeing the enemy's plans unfolding and putting them into key positions of influence. So not only is the sun darkened, but also the air is darkened. The sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. The light that shines forth. Okay, this is my interpretation of this verse, okay? So the light that shined forth, Christ, the gospel, and the breath of life were darkened because of their ignorance in respect of the divine things. They were betwixt because of the prison. My people are destroyed from lack of knowledge. Okay, So, in other words, the smoke was a great big obscurity to put this army into position and bring them out and bring them into their positions. Okay. But he that hates his brother is in darkness and walks in darkness and knows not where he goes because the darkness has blinded his eyes. Just a verse here to reference, okay? Darkness, ignorance of respecting divine things of human duties, and the accompanying of ungodliness and immortality, together with their consequent misery in hell. Persons in whom darkness becomes visible and holds sway. Before we get to the locusts, all right, let's discuss what we know about them on the earth. Okay, the Lord set up a vineyard. So this earth is a field. That's in parables. That's everywhere. The wicked tenants, the seeds, the parable of wheat and tares. All right, the world is a field. Okay, it's a crop. It's a growing crop. The Lord set up a vineyard here on the earth. His field, the laws, and the laws of harvest make this very clear. We're likened to wheat, barley, grapes, and there's also tares among the wheat. The enemy sowed bad seed. So we have the parable of the wicked tenants. All these clues, all right, tell us that this is a crop here on the earth. So at the defining, the lowest denominator here is locusts eat crops. That's the bottom line. Locusts will swarm and consume crops. We all know that. We've all seen it in the news. That tells us immediately that, okay, these things are coming out of the pit to consume the people of the world, God's people. All right, so the locusts, they're usually solitary, all right, but under certain circumstances will become more abundant and change their behavior and habits, becoming gregarious, meaning basically they form societies. They'll form cooperative societies, social groups, if you will. Does this sound familiar? The Eastern Stars, the Masons, all the hoopla groups that they have and secret societies they have, all this social groups. And what I've noticed over the past few years, and probably some of you will agree, is what started off as unorganized has now become an organized. It's like everyone's in on it now. Like, oh, Hollywood knows what the government's doing, and they're waiting for the Antichrist to take power. And the government knows that Hollywood knows, and they're all kind of like all getting excited, waiting for this beast to rise. And it seems like, it's becoming almost like they're coming out of their cocoons and they're starting to like, oh yeah, here it comes. We all, what's coming. And, they share this, I'm sure, in different websites or whatever, social groups and all these different things. So it makes, it connects them together. Now the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. Oh, you did, the vaccine. Yeah. Oh, of course. Perfect. Yeah. Great plan. Yeah. Okay. So, everyone's included in on the big plan now. All right. Suitable conditions for drought, followed by rapid vegetation growth. Serotonin in their brains triggers a dramatic set of changes. They start to breed abundantly, becoming gregarious and nomadic, and migratory. They form bands, wingless nymphs, just kind of like what we talked about. Both the bands and the swarms move around rapidly, strip fields, and cause damage to crops. Okay. Serotonin was kind of interesting. I forgot to include something on that, but it's take a look at it if you get a chance. So here we go, right here, what I just said. And they conspired, all of them together, to come and fight against Jerusalem and to hinder it. Jerusalem, the bride of Christ. Okay. Going back to our great furnace, another analogy that was brought to my attention many years ago was that our U.S. Capitol is made of iron. Okay. So we just talked about... I apologize. We didn't talk about it yet. We will. It's coming up after this. So this is the intro to it. So the dome is made of iron, not stone, but cast iron. So there's our iron furnace. Okay. Let's see here. But the Lord hath taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace. So now you can see what this really is, right? Out of Egypt, even unto him a people for an inheritance, as you are this day. So you're taken out of the system. You're taken out of the governmental system that You know now works for Satan and worships Satan, and now you can see. Okay, you're taken out of this iron furnace. He's removed you from the system that these locusts spring from. They're concealed or cloaked. The smoke, darkness, spiritual darkness. The capital even looks like an old wood burning stove. And that's what this picture is here. Kind of, sort of, maybe not really, but I thought it kind of reminded me of one of those old wood burning furnaces. Okay. So further information, you go to Exodus and read about the locust plague and gain more insight. Here's some key things I saw as I looked at it. And reading in the chapter, I saw that it was an east wind. Remember, looking towards the east, the Neo-Assyrian Empire, who looks towards the east. Remember, Columbia does. Remember that the beast rises out of the east. The locusts were very grievous, meaning in part numerous, rich, boastful, noblemen, self-made men, among other descriptive points from grievous, all right, in these Strong's words. They covered the whole face of the earth by darkening it, and a west wind took the locust away. Okay, in other words, now we have our spiritual darkness again. Another interesting thing was, and I don't think I mentioned it, was they ate everything after the hail came. All right, everything that the hail didn't destroy, the locust did. So that tells me in part we might see this around the sixth seal. Okay, just something to think about. All right, here we go. So, and there out of them came the smoke, locust upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as scorpions of the earth have power. The word power here is the word exousia. Strong's Gulf, or G, 1849 says it all about who the locusts are. So let's take a look at this. So exousia, power, okay, privilege, capacity, competency, freedom, objectively, magistrates, superhuman, token of control, delegated influence, authority, jurisdiction, liberty, power, right, and strength. Power of choice, liberty of doing as one pleases, the ability or strength in which one is endued. The power of authority and influence. Influence our government, making laws, commercials, news, all pieces of influence. Hollywood, influence. The power of rule or government, the power of him whose will and commands. A thing subject to authority or rule, jurisdiction, one who possesses authority, a ruler, a human magistrate, the leading more powerful. These are all government officials, people, or some important people, quote unquote. So when we look at the scorpion, most of us realize that it's an insect with legs, pincers, and a tail that stings. The pincers are an interesting trait. They come from the Greek word kahim, which means I yawn or I gape, which means someone is asleep. Scorpios also in the Greek had the sixth meaning of an engine of war to discharge arrows. I believe the enemy is trying to hijack the meaning of the white horse, who has no arrows but a bow. This goes into a much deeper study, and I can post a link to that in the description box. You can go to Tim Foster 405 channel if you want to elaborate on that. The first rider is not the Antichrist. Scorpions mainly live in deserts and occasionally are found elsewhere. What does a desert mean in the Bible? The desert is a place where it's difficult to follow the Lord. The seed or the word is dried up quickly and or eaten, all right, or scorched in the sun. It is a place of testing and trial. Jesus went there and fasted and was tempted by the devil. Now, if you get a chance, and I can post the description link in the description box, go watch the video, and it's a girl band or a boy band, whatever it is, and it's called Steal My Girl by One Direction. I wanted to play it, but I've been getting copyright strikes, and I don't even hardly use stuff, but anyway, Steal My Girl by One Direction. Danny DeVito in that plays Satan. And in it, he says, I will bring life to the desert. He's the artist in this video. So you can go check it out. You'll see all the little nuances in it, through Danny DeVito. I've used it in other videos, so, you can check it out. But that's the desert, right? That's where these things reside. Where we have this right now. We're in this dry place because churches aren't preaching truth. Very few people are. People have their own minds made up at this point, so that we're in this tight spot of where these scorpions have taken residency here. So, anyway, this is a verse pertaining to the desert. O God, you are my God. Earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh faints for you, as in a dry and weary land where there is no water. All right. So this kind of, let me read it first. So it was commanded of them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, nor any tree, but only those men which did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. The Holy Spirit is that seal that's on their foreheads. The Holy Spirit speaks and leads to all truth and understanding, so it would be impossible for them to be affected by the scorpion sting. So who has also sealed us and given us the earnest spirit in our hearts, in whom you trusted after that you heard the word of the truth, the gospel of your salvation, in whom also after you believed you were sealed with the Holy Spirit of promise. So the obvious ones here are the Holy Spirit sealed men and women. What are the other green things? Well, if you go to the government and you start looking at green things, you look at environmental type stuff, and they are desperately trying to save the environment, desperately trying to be green and all that. So that's one little niche of this verse. Another niche, and it may be a deeper niche, is in Revelation 12. It says that the woman is taken away from the face of the serpent. I often wondered about that, because with all this going on, how is she going to be taken away from the face of the serpent? And one thought I have, and it's, again, I revert back to my friend Tim Foster, has found passages in Scripture that talks about of a year of recompense. Now, if you remember when the Israelites left Egypt, they got from the Egyptians silver and gold and jewelry and favor. God showed them favor in the sight of the Egyptians. You can go check that out. I don't have the verse handy. I think that there is going to be a year time where the woman is away from the face of the serpent, and these are the new believers. The green grass is always in the Bible usually like a very tender type of plant, very subject to the sun and the heat and being scorched early. And so my thought process is that's what they're talking about here, or that's what the Lord's communicating here. Again, I don't know if that's true. Could be. It also talks about pointing things back to Eden when you start to look at the concordance in that. The Lord keeps saying we're going to be going, I'm going to resettle the earth. I'm going to do this. And there is destruction and all that is coming, yes. However, there's also going to be, I believe, that time. So another conjecture is it reverts back to Chloe, and she's found, I think, in 2 Corinthians, and she is, to me, it sounds like a new Christian. And again, so that's kind of where I'm thinking this is going, are the new believers, okay? The new believers, the ones that have now, oh my gosh, I can't believe all this is happening. This Bible is true. And I even know for myself that when I found the Lord, there was a certain period of time that the Lord just had me and him. It was I didn't get attacked. I wasn't put to trial. I wasn't put to test. I was learning. And it was it was probably the best time of my life. It was almost like I could have a communication directly with him for a period of time. And as time went on and, testings came harder and harder, then I was obviously no longer being hid from the face of the serpent. So again, I don't know if that's what it means, but that's my experience, and that's what I'm seeing. Okay. Let's go up here. Okay. Scorpions live in deserts. We already talked about that. Grabbing the ones that are sleeping. All right. Venomous sting. Use their pinchers to restrain and kill. Introduce venom through their tail. It pierces the skin and goes into the animal. Insect stings produce a painful swelling of the skin at the location of the sting. Does this sound familiar to you guys? Have we seen this before? Yes, we have. Injection, right? And to them it was given that they should not kill, but they should be tormented for 5 months, and their torment was as the torment of a scorpion sting when he strikes a man. Hypodermic needle, and this is the tail of a scorpion. Now, when you look at the stars in Scorpio, you get some interesting findings here. So the scorpion means to wound. Cannot destroy, but wound, and can inflict damage. Means conflict or war, the Hebrew name. The enemy or oppression, referring to that wicked oppress me, my deadly enemies who compass me about. And then in the sting, it means Lasaeth, Chaldee, Lasha, which means the perverse. The stars in the tail are also known as Lasha or Lashat. Kind of sounds like the shot. Maybe, right? They have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. I think this is a marking of ownership, the DNA. They are a perverse and crooked generation. These are the Father's children. They are perverse and crooked. I'm going to look up spot real quick. A couple different meanings that I saw. One of them is H3971 in the book of Job. It says blemish, spot, variant, physical defect, a moral stain, blemish or defect. Could this be the corrupting of the DNA that's going on from this shot, this injection? So this is from Deuteronomy. They provoked him to jealousy. Okay. With strange gods, with abominations, provoked him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils, not unto God, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up. Where'd they come from? Up and out of the furnace, whom your fathers feared not. So this jealousy right here connects directly to Ezekiel 8. And I think I have that in here. Let me see real quick. I think I do, but I'm gonna pull it up just because I don't know how far it is. I want you to get this. So this is the image of jealousy. They provoked to jealousy. They provoked him to jealousy, the Lord of God of Israel. This image of jealousy in the entry. He's talking exactly about the hole in the wall in the temple. They have provoked him to jealousy, which is the exact same wordage used here. Provoked him to jealousy with strange gods, with abominations, provoked him to anger, sacrificed unto devils, not to God, to gods they knew not, that newly came up. Same thing. They've corrupted themselves. How do you corrupt yourselves? Well, yeah, sin is one way, I get that. But are we seeing something different here? Again, that's for you to decide. Scorpions, meaning to pierce. A watch, a sentry, a scout, a mark, observer, a watchman. the distant mark looked at, the goal. This is all going to come together later. You're going to be surprised. Okay. They should not kill them, but they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was the torment of a scorpion when he strikes a man. 2 5-month periods in the Bible. The first one took about 5 months for the waters to be assuaged in Genesis 8. In Exodus, the Father uses a wind to reduce the waters and abate them, the locusts. In Revelation 9, the time is a torment is 5 months. The waters gets into a whole nother thing. The venom, the water, it even comes up as semen or seed. So this might be that time for that seed to stay in for 5 months, and then the Lord will take it with that west wind, quote unquote, spirit, and relieve it. I don't know, but that's important. I think with that west wind he used to take the locust away in Exodus, and in Genesis 8 took the waters away with the west wind. And now you have this venom that's inside the person from the scorpion for 5 months. So, something to think about. So this is torment in the Strongs. It means touchstone, identifying the quality of gold. To be tested. A testing by the touchstone. Pain, toil, torment, toss, vex. Remember that word from Jonah. Torment, pain, loss. To vex and toil. To vex with grievous bodily pains. To torment. But the ultimate thing is to touchstone. It's a saying tool that tests the quality of gold. Physical and intellectual measure by which the validity or merit of the concept can be tested. The Lord said to Moses, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather it at every certain day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or not. He's testing. This is a testing time for these people. 5 months. The trial of your faith being much more precious than the gold that perish, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ. The appearance. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. The first clue in the verse is the shapes. The locusts have a connection with horses prepared for battle. I looked into this for a time, and I think there's 2 possibilities. So a horse would be ironclad, which gives the resemblance of a chimera. Or, what I'm thinking is quite possible, is we have a spirit riding its host, though this likeness. So take a break and click on this. Well, there's a link not here, but go to this trailer, not trailer, but it's a movie clip called Venom 2018, where the Venom scene, movie clips. And what happens here is just interesting. So I thought of horses going into battle. Well, horses don't go into battle without a rider. So what clicked in my mind was in this scene, if you're familiar with Venom, if you're not, this isn't going to make much sense, but Venom is a symbiotic spirit that inhabits this guy. And he ends up having a chat with him, and he says, you are my ride. We will do this together. I am riding you. And if you do good, then you can die last, essentially. So that's the movie scene is what that's about. This was the one I really had a hard time with trying to decipher exactly what this was. But I do think it's one of those 2 things. You have resemblance, a likeness of something. Could be a chimera. It could be a way that the Lord is saying it's not just a person, it's also a spirit that is going into battle. All right. So something to think about. If you want to check that out, you can. We're about ready to get into something really good. So if this hasn't been good, you're going to really, this is really going to be an eye-opener. So we have the crowns of gold and the teeth of lions. So do you remember in the beginning of the video we talked about the weird falling star? Kecksburg UFO, all that occurred in 1965. Additionally, in 1965, Johns Hopkins University was also the first academic institution in the United States to perform sexual reassignment surgeries. Also in 1965, this group was formed, the Imperial Court System, the oldest and largest LGBTQ organization in the world. Okay, that invite unlimited audience and attendees to be presented at the royal court in the fanciest attire throughout North America. So what this place is, or thing is, I believe it's a nonprofit, but they all get together and they have these balls, and they're all in areas of the United States or different chapters or whatever, if you will. But they have this gala coronation balls. All right. Gala coronation balls. What's the name of the disease that was going around? Wasn't it corona, something like that, right? Okay, and we're talking about scorpion stings and being tormented for 5 months with venom in our bodies. You see where this is going? So the largest, oldest continuing organization, consisting primarily of gay male cross-dressers, drag queens, the Imperial Court System was founded by Jose Sarria in San Francisco in 1965, beginning other chapters that I just talked about known as realms in Portland, Oregon, and LA. The court system has grown today to 65 local groups in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. So this is the Imperial, also known as this. So if you see International Court System, it's the same thing. Formed in 1965. The court system appeals to people interested in various forms of costume and dress up, and are willing to lend their enthusiasm to the court's culture of charitable fundraising. Including among these are people involved in leather fetishes, leather subcultures, yada, yada, yada. Most court members, especially the monarchs, past monarchs, and those aspiring towards a throne, wear an assortment of regalia, including elaborate crowns, costume jewelry, and everything else. Each court holds an annual coronation or adornment. This is a coronation. Have we had a coronation? Maybe. And these are just assorted pictures I pulled off the web of them wearing crowns. And oh, by the way, they give crowns to everybody. And these are some of the, adornments that they have at these coronation balls. This is their emblem, and a gold crown was given to them. Right? This is the founder. Double-headed eagle. A lot of purple. Again, these are more of the things for the coronations. So I thought that was interesting. Goes right back to the crowns. Then we have the teeth of lions. There's a generation whose teeth are as swords, and their jaw teeth as knives, to devour the poor from off the earth and the needy from among men. Whatever you see, usually in Hollywood, generally pointing you to some truth. Everyone can make up excuses for all this. There's tons and dozens of these on YouTube where amateurs have captured them on their cameras or whatever, their video. This one I thought was really telling. His eyes just looked very creepy. And what's funny is this spot of light follows his mouth wherever it goes. And I thought that was, possibly the Lord saying, look here. A lot of people ask how they do this, how they, if reptilian, whatever, how this happens. I think it has something to do with bending the light. I'm not quite sure, but I think there is some sort of way that they can bend the light to disguise the truth. My soul is in the midst of lions, teeth like lions, right? I laid down amid fiery beasts, came out of the furnace. The children of men whose teeth are as spears and arrows, whose tongues are as sharp as swords. And I will break the jaws of the wicked and plucked the spoil out of his teeth. Their poison, their shot, is like the poison of a serpent, and they are like the deaf adder that stoppeth the ear, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. Break their teeth, O God, in their mouth, break their great teeth of the young lions. Usually, I think young lions in the Bible means like the fallen princes. They're the younger principalities. No kingdom as of yet, or will ever have one, but those are the young lions. Behold, I'm against thee, says the Lord of hosts. I will burn her chariots in the smoke. Where they come out of the pit, the smoke, having chariots. The sword shall devour the young lions. And I will cut off the prey from the earth, and the voice of the messenger shall be no more heard. So now we have the faces of men and the hair of women. It's starting to make sense. And they had breastplates, as they were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. So when I first began to study the Bible, I noticed to pay attention to the word iron in the Bible. It was something the Lord really hit me with, all right, to pay close attention to iron. When the Bible uses an adjective that really sounds unwarranted, pay close attention to it. According to the book of Jasher, Cain killed Abel with an iron portion of his plow blade. Cain's near descendant, Tubal-Cain, worked as an ironsmith, a trade more than likely taught by the fallen from the book of Enoch. From there you have King Og of Bashan and his famous bed made of what? Iron. Goliath had a spear with a tip that weighed 600 shekels of iron. I also find that spear tip interesting because in the last video we talked about the tip of the spear and likened it to as an injection. Iron is the seed of the enemy, so that even makes more sense with the tip of the spear and iron as part of it's symbolic, but as part of the seed of the enemy. But let's explore this a little further and let me prove the case to you. The list goes on. Canaanites had chariots of iron. Soon, I think we'll be seeing a different iron chariot. Fake or not, holograms or not, we'll see them. Of course, at the end of all this, we have Daniel's famous passage of iron mixing with the clay, which is the fallen mixing with humanity. Think back for a second and take in all the iron references. Mostly all goes back to warfare. Prime example is the movie In the Son of God. The Roman soldier states, there's only one miracle, and that's Roman steel. Iron is what gives off the edge in battle. If the Romans had no iron, they would not have taken any power of control over the Israelites. But iron was the edge, no pun intended, that they had to enslave them or, overlord them. To me, sealing the deal was Dr. Roger Lear, who successfully removed several alien implants, quote unquote, documenting his findings, with all of them consistent with iron as the highest element with other additional properties. The fallen meteorite or fallen star is what's being placed into these subjects. Even Wiki states that complex organic compounds have been found under laboratory conditions on meteorites. That's stated right here. Found DNA, RNA. You can take out that clipping and look at it. So Dr. Roger Lear, let me talk about him for a minute. So he passed away, and I believe he performed 9 successful surgeries of removing pieces of iron from patients that had received them under obscure circumstances, alien abductions, missing time, whatever. And what he found was that these things are very unusual. And there's actually a documentary of one called Patient 17 that you can watch. I believe it's on YouTube. I'm not sure. Very good movie. It really explains what this stuff is. But I've captured some of his findings here, and I think, this alone should definitely raise an eyebrow. So this is the location. This is the subject here. The location of where it was on his wrist. Here's his name. He remembered an alien contact experience he had in 1969. So there appeared to be a normal tissue around the object. So I'm just going to go over some highlighted parts here. A radio frequency detection instrument which detected radio signals emitted at blank blank frequencies 100 times faster than our fastest computer. The object was extremely hard, high mechanical strength, and proved impossible to cut even through diamond tools. It was then cut in half using a high-power pulse laser. The outer layer of the subject was a capsule of tissue resembling epithelial tissue which clung tightly to it. So you have this little piece of shard of metal in the skin, and over and around it is now this hard shell of tissue that is like made of cocoon around this thing. Is what I discovered in his videos by watching them. Small nerve fibers were seen connecting to the tissue surrounding the object. This is extremely important. Your nervous system controls how you move, how you think, and how you feel. So if there's something that can control your nervous system, it can control how you move, how you think, and how you feel. It's electrical. So if something butts up to that, like any type of wiring in a house, if you were to conjunct, some wires or whatever in your home, it's the same thing. Now you have this foreign object with nerve fibers connecting to that tissue. And that can send signals, as you can see up here. This is what I believe the mark of the beast will encompass. The actual full-blown will encompass this somehow, some way. Let's see here. This membrane was electrically conductive and is thought to be the interface between the device and the nervous system. So that's Dr. Roger Lear. Here's one more. Just showed high amounts of iron, meteoric iron at that. It was well beyond the technology known to science. It formed these little type of carbon fiber cells on it once it was in the body. It was funny that once it was removed, that the guy became very depressed, that he wished he had the device still in him. So just a lot of creepy things going on. This is a picture from Noah, the movie, about the only truth in it. Here's the fallen angels. This is what we see coming down, but in reality, a star falling from heaven is what it is. And a fallen angel coming out of the pit right here. Iron in this passage in Revelation 9, 1 through 11 means iron. It goes back to Phoenicia, which we talked about. It also means hunting. All right. Nimrod was a great hunter. All right. Apollo is this pretty much inhabited Nimrod. It's going to be the same thing with the last Antichrist. And here's our refresher here from the Neo-Assyrian Empire was iron weapons. They were first to be armed with iron weapons, and their troops employed in advanced and effective military tactics. Again, they started in 911 to 609 BC. Phoenicia and Canaan were part of that. So we have crowns and breastplates, kings and priests of the fallen kingdom. That's exactly what we have. Kings and priests of the fallen kingdom. Our Lord God instructed the Israelites to make and use a breastplate when offering up sacrifices to the Father. Under their breastplates, are they offering up sacrifices to their father of Apollyon? Distinctive differences in the types of sacrifices we offer up and they do, right? So we offer up our lives to God to live and do and fulfill his will. They offer up blood sacrifices for power and strength and authority and position and gain. item of religious significance. The priestly breastplate worn by the Israelites contained Urim and Thummim, which mean lights and perfections, also truth. Of course, the exact opposite would be darkness and lies. The sound of their wings was the sound of chariots and many horses running into battle. This is how they take flight. When you look at the word sound here, you come up with Strong's phone 5456, but you can expand that further to 5316, and you get all kinds of UFO type references: to shine or make manifest, light, fire, lamps, burning, angels, surrounds angels when they appear on earth, emitting light, stars, fire, appear to be seen, exposed to view. Sounds like the veil coming down, right? But what I do, that I will do, that I may cut off occasion from them, which desire occasion, that wherein they glory, they may be found even so as we. For such as false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves as apostles of Christ, it's no marvel that Satan himself is transformed as an angel of light. Therefore it is no great thing that if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. Nice, bright, shiny things. We all like nice, bright, shiny things. And woo and ah over them. I believe we'll see this. They had a king over him, which was the angel over the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew is Abaddon and in the Greek Apollyon. Straight up, it's Satan, the destroyer, destruction. O you destroyer, you yourself have not been destroyed, you traitor, whom none has betrayed. When you have ceased to destroy, you will be destroyed. And when you have finished betraying, they will betray you. I beheld Satan fall from heaven as lightning. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Amen. All right. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. Be blessed. Take care. Have a great weekend, great night.